dieting doesn't show up to help you be happier and healthier. It shows up to trap you. So anything that traps you into thinking you're not good enough, and that you'll never be good enough, that's diet culture. Anything that is promising you quick fix, silver bullet, quick results, and anything that focuses on the outward, the external, more than the internal.
Welcome to the Plant-Based DFW Podcast Weekly Show with Dr. Riz and Maya, a show broadcasted from the Dallas-Fort Worth area that focuses on lifestyle medicine. This is the use of evidence-based lifestyle therapeutic approaches, such as a whole food plant-based diet, regular physical exercise, adequate sleep, and stress management to treat, prevent, and oftentimes reverse lifestyle-related chronic diseases that are all too prevalent. Every week, they feature a guest who speaks on one of these lifestyle medicine pillars. This show is for you, the person who is seeking to improve your overall wellness and quality of life. So whether you are driving, walking, or relaxing at home, we hope this show will provide you one more tool for your wellness toolbox. Let's meet today's podcast guest.
Welcome back to another episode. I am Maya Acosta, and this is episode 129. Today's topic is an important one for me. In the past, you may have heard me mention that when I was younger, I suffered with an eating disorder. Well, this can be a sensitive topic to discuss overall. Oftentimes, when I discuss the benefits of going plant-based, my focus is not to encourage weight loss. However, if it happens, that's wonderful. Rather, my focus is to encourage wellness. I am not pro-dieting. My guest is an expert in this field, and she is here to pull back the curtain on the diet culture. We all need to understand how the idea of dieting has been planted throughout our lives, and we as women have been preyed upon. We can also see diet culture in the plant-based community. Danielle Dinkelman loves helping women turn their health around so that they can fully show up for themselves, their families, and their communities. She is a mother of 4, a plant-based nutrition educator, and a national board-certified health and wellness coach. She supports her clients in a transformative coaching process where they create a wellness vision, choose an area of focus, and then design small changes and nurture new habits that put them on the right path to health and vitality. She believes that all women shape the world, and so do I. And when we are held back by our health, whether that be chronic fatigue, mental health, aches and pains, depression and anxiety, or any other health problem, we can't fully show up in the way that we want to. So please follow and visit Danielle on her website. It's danielledinkelman.com. All of her links will be available in the show notes for episode 129. And as always, all the show notes are located on our website, plantbaseddfwpodcast.com. Thanks again for listening. So I'm so excited to have you here, Danielle, to talk about this very important topic. So welcome.
Thank you, Maya. I'm happy to be here.
You are the author of If Diets Don't Work, What Does? A doable, enjoyable guide to living the life that you want. And what you do with your clients is really help them to take a healthier approach to living a healthier lifestyle. So before we talk about all that, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from?
Yeah, thanks for asking. Yeah, so right now I live in Utah, but I grew up in southeastern Washington, and now we're actually in the middle of moving. If you could see more of my office right now, you'd see lots of boxes. We're in the middle of relocating to the Portland, Oregon area. So kind of all over. But yeah, I started as a health and wellness coach about 4 years ago, and it was within the first year of me discovering plant-based nutrition, and it lit a fire under me. As it does for many of us that learn about this, that it seems like such a powerful tool that we can use to help ourselves and help others. So I became really passionate very quickly about sharing this with other people. But what I was seeing as I got started in my coaching practice was that people were using dieting tactics, kind of this all or nothing thinking, and I have to be perfect right now, applying that to plant-based nutrition. And then I still had people that would come to me and they say, hey, I'm eating perfectly plant-based, but I'm not losing weight. I don't have any energy. What is going wrong? So over these last 4 years, I have learned a lot from the people that I've worked with, and we have found ways and answers to those questions. And that's really what the book is that I wrote this year. And it's so rewarding to help people go from just confused and overwhelmed and frustrated to hopeful and empowered and being successful with like you said, turning our health around with lifestyle. It's so powerful.
So where do we want to start with this topic? I know that you said that, you've had clients say that sometimes they will start eating plant-based foods and not see any weight loss. Or maybe you can start by telling us a little bit of like what we can find in your book.
So you mentioned lifestyle medicine, and I love the idea that communicates, because it really is, we talk a lot in the plant-based community about using food as medicine. It goes hand in hand with using our lifestyle, our habits, our day-to-day behaviors and choices as medicine. So in my book, I really address the issue of diet culture that a lot of us, especially women, have been victim to without probably even being aware of it. So I really kind of pull the curtain back on diet culture, because we need to be able to see it clearly in order to unsubscribe from it. And then we replace that with sustainable behavior change principles. So that was the crux of the things that I was trained in when I went through 3 levels of training and all the way up to a national board certification for my health and wellness coaching. So I teach you in the book how to create new habits and how to make changes sustainable. And then the rest of the book goes into the 5 areas of wellness that I focus on with my clients. So we start with sleep, and then I do talk about nutrition. Then we go, let's see if I can remember the order that we did it in. Next is movement or exercise, and then stress management and mindsets. So when I think of lifestyle medicine, some people stop by thinking, oh, lifestyle medicine is eating a whole food plant-based lifestyle, or eating better. But I see it as this well-rounded, holistic approach that we are a whole person. We need to be moving. We need to be sleeping. We need to be managing our stress as well as eating well. And we need to manage our thoughts, like you said, our mindsets. I love coaching women through mindset work, because that's often where most of the progress comes from, is when we can address how we're thinking and feeling about ourselves, how we're thinking and feeling about weight or food or anything in our lives.
You started off by saying that, you want to pull back the curtain when it comes to diet culture. I wonder if we can kind of touch on that a little bit. Industries really prey on us and our weaknesses, especially women, right? So there's always a diet. I mean, always a diet, always, they continue to put these very thin females in commercials and in ads and things like that. And there's still this idea that's being planted in us, these subtle seeds that are being planted, these ideas of we have to look a certain way, therefore we have to pretty much starve ourselves. And then we go to the grocery store and you have aisles full of junk food. There's so much misinformation and so much confusion when it comes to food. Like, where do you start? Where do you go when you're seeing one thing on television, especially when you see the thin women in bikinis eating hamburgers? It's like, well, that's not reality.
That's not reality. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
This could be a whole other episode. There's so much in our media that you're right. We are just constantly overstimulated by information and images and messages. Some of them we're very aware of, and some of them are very subtle. We may not recognize them for what they are. So yeah, pulling back the curtain on diet culture is really, diet culture dieting doesn't show up to help you be happier and healthier. It shows up to trap you. So anything that traps you into thinking you're not good enough, and that you'll never be good enough, that's diet culture. Anything that is promising you quick fix, silver bullet, quick results, and anything that focuses on the outward, the external, more than the internal. So I always say the coaching work that I do, the work that we do is from the inside out. That's why we start with mindset a lot of the time. And we focus on having my clients do things that feel like their next step. They feel ready, willing, and able to do the next thing. It's not forcing a square peg into a round hole. That's diet culture. And we want to avoid that because we're just setting ourselves up for failure, for burnout. So I just got this request in my email for one of the free consultations that I do. And she said, of what she wanted to work on. She said, I want to stop self-loathing. And she's not the first person that I've heard that from. And so if we are feeling that way, chances are we've fallen victim to diet culture, which, like you said, keeps showing us these images of, the Barbie doll body type, that there is no normal, right? There is no ideal. We are so diverse. Our bodies, our body shape, our body size can be so diverse. So what I'm more interested in than helping clients lose weight is helping them gain health. We want to just focus on, well, what are we adding? How are we enriching? How are we nourishing with all these different tools that we have in our lifestyle medicine toolkit?
I'm so glad that you bring that up, because that's also been sort of a goal of mine, is not to focus on weight or body, focusing on the outer appearance, but just the long-term health that we can have as a result of just implementing these lifestyle pillars. The pandemic happened and some people did put on weight, and I find it interesting that people still feel the need to point that out. Like, I've gained weight, where it's like attacking oneself. It's like, look at me, I gained weight. And even when I myself go through my fluctuation, which is not significant, but to me it is, I try not to focus on it. For me, self-compassion is so important. And I know that you take that approach. You take the positive psychology approach and also the self-compassion, which then can lead to more sustainable changes.
Exactly. Yeah. We cannot beat ourselves up into better health.
Right.
Those that you're trying to create something positive with something negative, and the universe just does not work that way.
Yes, exactly.
Anytime we are beating ourselves up, yes, self-compassion, focusing on what is good. When you talk about, kind of noticing our own weight fluctuations, or focusing on, I gained my COVID 20 or whatever it is. What if we looked at, when we notice our own weight fluctuations, what if we took the charge off of that and looked at it a little more objectively, looked at it of, oh, interesting. These clothes feel a little tighter, or I don't feel as trim and as strong as I did a few months ago. Interesting. Mm-hmm. Taking that as information and then saying, what is my body trying to communicate to me? Or what does my body need? Well, I stopped moving. Maybe I'd like to get back to moving more. I used to do this and this and this, and I haven't really been doing it. Maybe I'll start moving again. If we can just think a little more objectively, rather than beating ourselves up and saying, oh, see, here's another piece of evidence that I'm a failure at life. That's not what this needs to be. And that's a big point of my book and my coaching, is to reprogram those thought habits that we have around those fluctuations in our weight or our health or anything.
What are some kind of lies or myths that diet culture has planted in our minds?
Well, let's put it this way. So in my opinion, diet culture gets the how, the why, and the what totally wrong. So you can kind of look at it in those three pieces. Okay. So how dieting teaches us to make changes is wrong, because it's totally unsustainable. Think about the last diet that you went on, or that you had a friend go on. What did they do? They said, tomorrow is the beginning of my diet. Right? So it's this on or off, all or nothing, starting and stopping. That's not how lifestyle works. Okay. So dieting gets that all wrong. It's not sustainable to think that way. We need to think more progress over perfection. Right. So then the why of dieting is all external. I want to be a different dress size. I want to see a different number on the scale. I want to look more attractive. I want to like what I see in the mirror. There's all these external things, and that's not going to propel you very far. It's not going to sustain you. You're not going to, again, it's trying to create a positive with a negative, because external reasons usually come from a place of shame and self-loathing, right? And then the what, that dieting focuses completely on the food, and calories are bad, fats are bad, carbs are bad. It just demonizes one thing after another that is honestly neutral. Fats are neutral. Calories are neutral. So it just gets that all wrong. We need to kind of step back, take that more well-rounded lifestyle medicine approach we talked about, and round this out and just soften the whole thing, because dieting is this rigid thing that we can totally break ourselves against. And there's a better way.
Once you develop a healthy relationship with food, you don't see it as an enemy. You just kind of, to me, in my mind, the way that I work through it is just like, I'm just going through and choosing what I feel works best for my body. And intuitive eating is very important to me. So really paying attention to how I feel when I eat certain foods, even processed foods, even if they're vegan or plant-based, I pay attention. And then, but that's something that I don't know if that's something that can be taught, or in general, we all kind of can really, if we just start to pay attention, can figure out like how certain foods make us feel. Is that something that you touch on in your coaching?
It is. So I'm really passionate about helping women heal their relationship with food, heal their relationship with exercise, all these things that get so traumatized by diet culture. But also heal their relationship with themselves and with their body, right? So cultivating self-compassion, cultivating self-trust, cultivating body trust, right? So listening, and this is a blessing of the whole food plant-based way of eating, is that you can start to trust your hunger cues. And when you feel full, you can trust that. And it takes time. It can be taught, it can be coached, but oh my goodness, it's some deep inner work that has to happen. And it's some of my favorite work that I get to do. If we can get to that place, as you talked about, intuitively making your choices and just, navigating it day to day, meal to meal. Of course, it's okay to have an umbrella, right? Have kind of some general choices that you would like to make, but from moment to moment, day to day, that you listen to your body and that you check in and tune in. I think that, again, that's going more internal, less external, right? So even within the plant-based community, we have a tendency to take all of our diet culture baggage with us, right?
Yeah.
And one of those pieces of baggage is giving our power away, saying, oh, well, Dr. So-and-so knows what I need more than I know what I need, right? But Dr. So-and-so doesn't know your body. He doesn't know your history. She doesn't know what feels good in your body. You do. So that's a big part of my coaching is, of course, the information that's out there is helpful. It gives us a fresh start, but then we have to then check in and put it through a personal filter of, okay, what of this is resonating with me? And what's my next step? What do I feel ready, willing, and able to experiment with?
Yes, that is actually such a good point you just made. I had not really considered it that a lot of times, yes, when we're first starting to make change, we do pull from resources, but then to be at the mercy of those experts is still not healthy for us. While we're on the topic of this whole diet culture, I thought it'd be interesting to talk about like how can we begin to talk about this diet culture and diet issues or food disorder or eating disorders without it sort of triggering people or having like this negative connotation?
Yeah, I love this question so much. I think I shared a story in my book about a client that went to see her doctor, and he recommended such and such diet. It was not plant-based nutrition, recommended some high protein diet or something. And, he was so quick to say, oh, well, you're obese. and da 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 da, and these are your risk factors because you're obese. She told me that he used the word obese in reference to her 3 times in this one conversation. And I understand that it's a medical term. I understand that, public health officials and such will speak about, our obesity epidemic, right? I understand that. But when we are talking about an individual, this is a human being that has feelings and that has history and that has been probably victimized and scarred a little bit by diet culture. So whether we are doctors or dietitians or health coaches or educators in any space, we have to be mindful and careful. Are we contributing more to the diet culture shaming, the diet culture trauma, or are we helping heal it? Are we offering a new way of thinking about health and thinking about our bodies and talking about our health and our bodies? So I love this question. Some of the things that I work with my clients around the language they choose is when they come to a coaching call and they say, I fell off the wagon. I was a failure. This week was a total bust. When they just focus on what didn't happen, right? They focus on the fact that they were not perfect in their, whatever they chose, the goals that they had for that week. So I try to reframe that for them of, this isn't failure. You made a choice that you didn't like the effects of. How did that choice make you feel? Oh, well, I felt awful after I ate that cheeseburger, or, oh, I just felt sick, So taking away the emotional reaction to those things and focusing more on the physical, again, healing this relationship with our body, right? That can help to take the shame. And this idea of going on a diet or starting a plant-based diet, you will not hear me say plant-based diet very often. I try to say a plant-based way of eating or a plant-based lifestyle or choosing plant-based foods, things like that, because I want to make that separation. I want to be a practitioner that supports people in leaving the diet culture behind and creating something new. And like we talked a little bit before we got started that sometimes it's just a matter of not focusing on the weight so much and not focusing on the outcomes, but focusing on the health and focusing on the behaviors, right? So what habits do we want that would help us feel better? Talk to anyone that has struggled with weight and that knows that they want or need to lose weight. There's more to it than just being in a body that's bigger than they want it to be. This is about, my knees hurt, my back hurts, I have no energy, I'm tired all the time. That's not the life they pictured for themselves. So let's focus on that. Let's focus more on how they're feeling and the connections they're noticing between the behaviors they choose and how that feels in their body and how their body thanks them when they do make different choices and different behaviors. So I honestly just like to kind of set the weight loss aside. And when it does come up with clients, I just look at it as a way that their body is thanking them and that their body is responding and showing them that, hey, we're on the right track. We are working from the inside out and your body is responding. But that's only one of like a million different data points that we talk about. So just getting out of the tunnel vision around weight, I think is really, really helpful.
Like you said, fell off the wagon, which sounds like, and I was going to ask you, but it sounds like recovery, like they were part of that journey. How do you feel about the word recovery? Does it also have sort of a negative connotation?
Oh, like food addiction?
Yes.
Ooh, I do have thoughts on food addiction.
Okay.
And I talk about this in my book as well, that I actually just had a conversation with a client in our group coaching program just yesterday. And it's all women. It's called Vibrant Living. And yeah, she brought it up. She said, I'm having a lot of sugar cravings and I'm a sugar addict. So I don't believe that that's a helpful paradigm. I believe that that's kind of a disempowering way of thinking about food and thinking about ourselves, to just label ourselves as a food addict or a sugar addict or a recovering sugar addict or food addict. So I don't like to think of it as being an addict. I like to think of it as, this is addicting food, right? So sugar can be an addicting food. High fat can be an addicting food. Doesn't that just feel better to like take the charge off of that? And it puts credit where credit is due. It puts it where it belongs.
It's interesting that you say it that way, and I agree with you. So a friend, a coworker many years ago woke up to this reality that processed foods and junk food has been designed so that we actually can become addicted to the food. And she came to me and she said, it's a conspiracy. You know, it's designed this way. We're supposed to be addicted to these foods. And so she took her power back by waking up to the reality of how marketing works, how these products are developed. And she said, I'm done. It goes back to what you were saying of really raising awareness, raising the curtain on all of this, and really educating the client so that they can have that awareness, so they can understand how all of this works, rather than putting the blame on themselves like, I'm helpless. This is just my situation. There's nothing I can do. And by labeling myself, I sort of escape the responsibility. Do you also work with clients in terms of dealing with anything from their past that might have, a trauma that might have then caused a certain way of eating?
Great question. So my scope of practice as a health and wellness coach very much deals with, where are we right now and how can we move forward? Whereas like a counselor or a therapist very much looks at where are we at right now and what is it that got us here? And what do we need to unpack to be able to move forward? Okay. So those are kind of the two different scopes of practice. And there is a little bit of overlap. I want to know my client's background and their story with health and wellness, with dieting, with all of it. So I have to be careful, because there are certain times that I will recommend, hey, working with a counselor or working with a therapist in addition to coaching can be a really strong complement, because then we get the full spectrum. Yeah, great question. It's a matter of scope of practice there.
So I have some notes that I took when I was going through your book, so I don't want to forget, but I read that 75% of American women endorse unhealthy thoughts, feelings, behaviors related to food and their bodies. Wow.
It comes back to, what are the thoughts and feelings that person is having? 75% of us as women, we have those thoughts predominantly, right?
Yeah.
And that's 3/4 of us. That's most of us. And that is not okay, because one reason why I work with women is not only because we tend to be more victimized in this diet culture, but also because of the power for good that we have as women. We naturally have these big hearts that we go into lines of work that are very big-hearted, taking care of others, helping others. We're very active in our communities. We raise families. Like, women are powerful. We're really, like, I kind of see women like we're kind of the bedrock of our society, right? And especially if we are healthy, like, how much better of a world can we create? And on the other hand, when we're not healthy, when we are kind of that lower vibration, that lower version of ourselves, when we're living below our privilege as women, that doesn't do anybody any good, especially ourselves. It starts with us. But I love seeing the ripple effect that when I can help one woman turn things around, oh my goodness, it affects her mother, her sisters, her husband, her children, like everything, her work, like it just ripples. Yeah. And people notice when a woman is healthy and happy, she lights up. And you can't ignore it. It's magnetic. So that's why I work with women, because we need it the most and we benefit from it the most. And the rest of the world does too.
Yes, definitely. And that's exactly why I'm part of, for the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, I'm part of the Women's Health Interest Group that then has other subcommittees where they touch on different health topics pertaining to women. But you know what topic is not covered? Dieting. There's not a single interest group related to dieting because it doesn't matter what field you're in, you are prone to dieting, period. And so, yeah, and so you say also, you cover in your book that 95% of dieters will regain weight in 1 to 5 years, which I have witnessed. 45 million Americans go on a diet each year. And you hear it all the time, especially after holidays and certain events. You know what really bothers me, Danielle, and I don't want to be negative, but when celebrities starve themselves for photo shoots or certain events, and then they say that immediately after that event, they go and eat or binge on hamburgers and other types of foods, and so they're promoting this diet culture. They're telling women, hey, starve, do what you have to do for the moment to get through, and then just anything goes afterwards. So how do we move away from that? And I know we've been covering it in this conversation, but how do you get started with a client in terms of really getting them to say, shake them up and say, okay, we're going to stop this way of thinking and really take a better, healthier approach?
It really does start with noticing it. It starts with awareness. It starts with just opening our eyes and seeing where it's showing up. I used to have people join my group coaching program for 6 months increments at a time, but I recently changed it to 12 months. So, and there's a reason for that, because I found again and again, every time I would work with someone for 6 months and they would stop, I would feel like we just got started. We just barely scratched the surface. It takes about 3 to 6 months to deprogram and to just start to really see where the diet culture is showing up. I had this sweet client I was on the phone with just maybe about a month ago. And she said, you know, Danielle, I just feel like I need to just dive in. I'm so frustrated with myself that I just haven't just committed to plant-based eating. I feel like I need to do a cleanse, or I need to do a 7-day vegan, or a 7-day plant-based program. Like, I just need to commit. I just need to go 100%. And she caught herself in that moment, just as she was sharing it with me. And she said, wait, is that diet culture? It's plant-based. Is it diet culture? And I was like, yes, yes, it is. If it's pushing us to starve ourselves, if it's pushing us to, if it feels like shoving a square peg into a round hole, yes, it is diet culture. That is not sustainable. Okay, so anytime we say, oh, well, I'm just going to be perfect for 7 days and see how that helps, we're kind of setting ourselves up for what I call the rubber band effect, right? You can stretch that rubber band so far, but you let up just a little bit, and what's it going to do? It's going to snap back. Okay, so why are we feeling like we have to stretch so far and go so fast and try to go 100% in this short amount of time? No, we're interested in a lifestyle. We're interested in nourishing and caring for this amazing body that we live in. Why can't we just take small and steady steps toward these habits that we want to have? So this same client, we've worked on processed food. We've worked on, just letting the meat get out of the picture and focusing on introducing more of these whole foods. And dairy has kind of been the last thing that has hung on. But you know what? As we just focused on these other parts of it that she was ready, willing, and able to do, more and more, each time we talked, she said, I'm really getting to the point that I think I'm ready to let go of the cheese. And at first it was, you know what, I'm done with sour cream, I'm done with yogurt. She got rid of everything else, and cheese was like that last piece. And we're working on kind of cutting that cord right now, but she's ready for it. And all the while, she's been building this new way of feeding herself along the way. Okay, so it's embracing this progress over perfection. Anytime we think we're going to just jump in and be perfect, that's diet culture screaming.
And we sort of kind of skipped a little bit over your story about an accident that you had earlier on and what that did for you. Do you want to cover it and tell us about it?
Sure. Yeah. So in the book, you know, my health journey has been unique to me, just like everyone's is unique to them. And for me, it started really with a car accident. I was driving down the main highway here in Utah, coming back to college, and I overcorrected my vehicle and ended up rolling my vehicle. And it's a miracle that I was not paralyzed or ejected from the car. This is where I say, everyone, please continue to wear your seatbelts. It saves lives. But that car accident, I still deal with injury and pain and problems from that accident. But what it did for me is it showed me that I have to take care of this body I'm in. And now that I'm in a body that has been injured, incredibly injured, I have to take even better care of it than I would have before. So that was really my introduction to lifestyle medicine. I had to start exercising because I had to keep my muscles strong, because the whiplash injury from that rollover completely damaged the ligaments in my neck. Ligaments don't heal. There's no blood flow through ligaments. So now I have muscles in my neck and shoulders that are doing the job of what the ligaments once did. So I have to take really good care of this body I'm in. And when I don't, it communicates with me and it uses pain. And that's really no different than, you know, what I see in the journeys of my clients. They have something happen, and whether it's an accident or if it's been a long time coming, a long history of struggling with weight or with food or whatever, our body is constantly trying to communicate with us. And so it's just a matter of, are we listening? Are we receiving that message? And are we responding? Are we really, you know, answering what our body is asking for? It wants us to sleep more, stress less, eat better, move more, all of those things. It can communicate, and it will thank us by not being in pain. So for me, I know I've got it together when I'm in minimal amounts of pain, you know? So everybody's got our story. That's mine. That's really what woke me up to really start taking care of myself.
Yes, thank you for sharing your story. That is exactly, I think a lot of people can identify with what you said, is that a lot of us have something happen to us. And then depending on our experience, we take control of our own health. And that's how we all get sort of started. That's how I got started in lifestyle medicine, plant-based nutrition. Same thing. It's, you know, you get to a point where you say, I've had it and I can't rely on anyone else to take care of my body and my health. It's my responsibility. But I love this because what you're teaching is not a program where you have to buy supplements and do all this other stuff and buy into some sort of, again, fad diet. You're really teaching lifestyle and healthier approaches to food. And on that note, can you tell us about your coaching programs? You have individual, but you also have what is called the Vibrant Living Group coaching program.
Yeah, and both are so powerful, and it's just a matter of what level of support are you looking for. So yes, the one-on-one coaching I do, there's nothing more rewarding to me than coming side by side with another human being and learning their story and learning their struggles and helping them find ways forward. So we do that by a variety. You can meet every single week with me. You can meet every other week. You can meet once a month. There's options there. And then I'm very proud of the group coaching program I've developed. It's in its third or fourth iteration now. Every year I learn new things of, oh, this is what we need to be successful. And oh, we're missing this piece. And really, it took that time to learn all those things before I could write my book. And I knew it was time to write the book because I could see things just clicking and working. And I could see very quickly what a client needed to learn or grow and develop in these certain areas to be successful. And so we take everything that's in the book and we practice it together inside of Vibrant Living. And it's such a joy. And I love connecting women, getting them all in the room together So we do group coaching sessions almost every single week. And we're in that Zoom room. I used Zoom before it was cool. We get in that conference room together and we see that, okay, I'm not the only one that's struggling with this mindset, or, oh, wow, she found something that she really enjoys doing that helps her be active. And we learn, it's this community learning, right? And peer support. It's so powerful. I love it. So yes, if anyone wants to learn more about my coaching programs, you can just go to danielledinkelman.com and they're all there.
Awesome. And who are the people that typically reach out to you and want to be coached by you?
I have worked with such a spectrum of women, and I love every single one of them. I love that there's many overlaps to what I do, but what it really comes down to is someone that has typically a woman that has put herself on the back burner for a long time and put the needs of others, whether it's their work or their family, be ahead of their own. And it is now coming to this critical mass that it can show up as a weight problem, or it shows up as gut and digestive problems, or it shows up as depression and anxiety and mental health problems. So I have worked with the whole spectrum, but it does tend to be women that are in this place that they're ready to put themselves first. And as counterintuitive as that is for a woman to say, I'm going to put myself first, because that's taboo, right? That's a very selfish, self-absorbed woman that puts herself first. No, you cannot draw water from an empty well. You have to take care of you so that you can take care of others and do the work that you're on this planet to do.
So women are sort of at the forefront of creating change and bringing change into the home, whatever it may be. We make the decisions in many ways when it comes to what we want in our home.
We are the gatekeeper.
We are. And you said earlier, we are the gatekeepers. We also are the ones that kind of, if we nurture ourselves and take care of ourselves, like that, this light shines from within and is contagious in our home. Like we can impact our families that much. And yet, because we are givers and we caretake and we put a lot of people first, we also can have the tendency to neglect ourselves. So what you're all about is exactly like what I try to practice in my own life, which I always have to come back to remembering that having clear boundaries, practicing self-care, having self-compassion for myself when I'm not perfect, because I'm not. I continue to not be perfect, and I'm okay with that. But I love seeing this as a journey, especially when it comes to food. So developing a healthier relationship with food. Where can people find your book? If diets don't work, what does?
Yeah, so you can go to my webpage, danielledinkelman.com, and there's a tab there that says my book. So click on that and that will take you. The book does have its own website, if diets don't work, what does.com. No punctuation, no nothing. And you can actually go to that website and people can download the first chapter for free just to see if it resonates with you, see if this is kind of the next step in your journey or not. I recognize that I did not write this book for the masses. I did not write it for every single person on this planet. I believe that it will resonate with the people that it is meant to help. And it is a self-coaching tool. You mentioned journaling. Every single chapter has journal prompts at the end of each chapter, because what I want you to do with this book is to read it and go inward, not read it. Do not expect to read this book and for it to tell you every move to make. It will not do that. It's very much a self-coaching tool. And yes, it's available on Amazon and Kindle. I would love, if this is resonating with the listeners, that this can make such a big difference if you are ready to step inward and step up for yourself. It can be very powerful.
It is. And that you just covered exactly what you've been saying, that you are about empowering the female. And this is what it is especially right now when you were talking about the journaling, is reflecting, being more involved rather than just reading the book. But I think this is such great work that you're doing. I admire that so much, Danielle. And I'm so happy that you were able to come on and talk to us about it. Is there anything else that you would like our listeners to learn? Maybe something that I might have forgotten to ask?
No, this is wonderful. Anyone that just wants to hang out with me a little bit more, maybe get to know a little bit more of what I do, what I teach, they can find me on YouTube, Healthy Living with Danielle Dinkelman. I do new videos every single week where I teach all of these principles and get down into some of the nitty-gritty details too, of the things that I teach in my book. So that's a really great place to learn more. But I just have so much goodwill in my heart for helping women be successful with this. So I hope that this is helpful for someone today.
Oh, definitely. Thank you so much. I think that a lot of our listeners will find a lot of value in what you're saying. I really think that it resonates with some of us in terms of really understanding that there is a diet culture that we need to be done with. Like, put that away, we're done with that, and moving towards a healthier perspective when it comes to health. So thank you, Danielle, so much for your time.
Thank you, Maya.
You've been listening to the Plant-Based DFW podcast show. If you like our content, please like, share, and leave a review. Our goal is to provide quality episodes to help support the community.